But this is the oldest golf course there is. First one.
That's unbelievable. What a world. Here we are.
Places like Musselburgh aren't supposed to exist. Not today. It's a relic from the origins of tournament golf. It sits literally inside a horse track. Not an old-timey, long-abandoned horse track, an active venue. It's Scotland's second largest, with races throughout the year. It's easy to let the novelty of Musselburgh distract you from its history, but that's a mistake. That history is the reason we're here. It's what makes this 9-hole track so special. I didn't hit any shots at Musselburgh. My doctor had me on a limited pitch count because of a shoulder injury. But to be honest, it was just as enjoyable to walk around the course and read the history posted on its walls. Playing the Musselburgh Old Links is like stepping back in time. And because of that, using modern clubs felt just plain wrong. So the guys ditched their regular sticks for hickory clubs and old-style balls, both of which are always available for rent from the clubhouse. Today would be about brassies, mashies, and niblicks.
Oh, look at this strike.
Oh, did that hit the flag?
It did. It's really not that hard of a shot.
This holly is mega buried.
That was pure.
Musselburgh wasn't the first golf course in the world, but it's the oldest one that still exists. There has been golf played here since 1567, which is about the time Galileo was born. In other words, most everyone playing here in the early days still believed the earth was flat. Enjoy some more drone footage as that sinks in. Fast forward some 300 odd years, and Musselburgh played a prominent role in the history of the Open Championship. Upon chipping in 8 pounds, about a third the cost of a new trophy, Musselburgh became part of a newly created Open Championship Rota in 1872, along with Prestwick and St. Andrews. The Rota was created out of necessity when a new trophy was needed. The story goes that back then, if you won something 3 times in a row, you got to keep it. Simple as that. And that's exactly what happened when young Tom Morris won his 3rd consecutive Open title in 1870. He got to keep the championship belt. This left the tournament in need of a new trophy, what would become the Claret Jug, at a cost of about 25 pounds. Since no course would put up all the money needed, it was decided to split the costs and rotate the tournament across the 3 different venues. Musselburgh would host the Open 6 times between 1874 and 1889. My favorite story comes from the 1886 tournament, and well, I'll let Dave, the general manager of the Musselburgh Old Links, tell the tale.
In 1886, they were short of competitors. So the secretary of the golf club went out and found one of the members who he knew was a good golfer, David Brown. And he was a roofer, and he was working on a roof. He dragged him off the roof, brought him back to the clubhouse, because he was filthy, stuck him in the bath, got him dressed, put him on the first tee, and he won the Open Championship after being dragged off the roof.
After 1889, the Open Championship never returned to Musselburgh. Deciding the links had become too crowded for their liking, the Honourable Company of Edinburgh golfers moved up the road to the old Tom Morris designed Muirfield, which from then on occupied Musselburgh's place in the Open Rota. The course today feels like a living museum dedicated to the history of golf in East Lothian. Not only are you encouraged to use old school equipment, but the playing conditions are from a bygone era as well. The greens are shaggy and nothing is perfectly manicured. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have the perfect club for the perfect distance. And you're definitely not supposed to have a perfect lie. Instead, you're supposed to head out in the field with your weapons and try to make it work the best you can. And it's fun as hell. Here's Solly flashing what I think is some 16th century tour sauce. Old equipment called for old rules as well. Things like stymies were put in play to fit the occasion.
Not sure what this is. Made it through. I could have used this drop zone they had marked here for you.
Off the 4th green at Musselburgh sits Mrs. Foreman's Pub, a historic landmark in its own right that features prominently into some of the most famous course lore. Though I was disappointed to learn I couldn't actually get a beer there anymore. The Park and Morris families are titans of Scottish golf history, and they had rivalries that lasted generations. In 1870, Willie Park Sr. played a challenge match at Musselburgh against Old Tom Morris. The Park clan was from the area, so on this day the hometown crowd was riding hard in their support of Willie Sr. They weren't shy taking liberties with Old Tom's ball. They were kicking it, stomping it, even throwing it between shots. Coming off the 4th green, Old Tom had enough and walked directly into Mrs. Foreman's Pub, where he sat down, refused to play on, and enjoyed himself a pint of beer. Park, agitated, carried out his round, then went back to the pub to confront Old Tom, trying to convince him to play on. It was to no effect, and eventually the match referee declared the whole thing void. The golf on our visit was a little more friendly. Walking around Musselburgh is taking a jaunt through time. It's a rare opportunity to experience the game as closely to what it once was as is still possible today. Any journey to Scotland is a journey to the game's roots. It's a reconnection with the past. If that means anything to you, if it stirs anything in your bones, get to Musselburgh and soak in the history. Be transported in time.
I don't know what I'm getting into here. Carbonated water, sugar, acid. It just says acid. Sick. Iron brew. Brewed in Scotland since 1901. Secret recipe. Oh, I like it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Very good.
After stops at Kilspindie, North Berwick, and Musselburgh, it was time to hop in the cars and leave East Lothian.
Alright, Tron is very obviously forgot his left side.
There we go.
Jesus.
Leaving our first region of the trip was a reminder of just how much golf there is to be played in Scotland. We could have stayed in East Lothian for another 2 weeks without getting bored, and we'd have the same feeling in the other regions we visited on this trip. But if we had to leave East Lothian, at least we were heading to a pretty cool destination.
Is this a good place to park?
I don't know, man. Where are we? Holy shit!
Here's the first tee. There's the R&A.
Famous Dunvegan Hotel and Inn.
Cheers, boys. I thought the Smoking Bridge was a disgrace.
Leave here at 2:45.
Tron's immediately asleep.
Here's the line at 5:45. About to open. Hey, dudes. Playing the old course today.
I've been here once before. It's maybe the world's greatest collection of guys.
A couple of old boys in here.
I think you're really gonna like it. Guys, I was here that one time. Don't remember me.
Definitely locked. Sunday night. 7:30. We tried.
We tried. I guess maybe I didn't know the right password.
Randy's not done trying.